Welcome to the Vault Excel. Hope you all have a safe weekend. This is pertaining to Bryan Kohberger. Thank you all so much for joining me.
This came just in time.
Oops, sorry about that. Fox News is the source. The Idaho prosecutor handling the murder case against student stabbing suspect Bryan Kohberger filed new documents Wednesday in Latau County Magistrate Court. Court information in the case, which has been removed from Idaho's online portal for unspecified security concerns, is updated daily in a PDF document posted to the state's website instead. The file shows that the court received a new affidavit from Latau prosecuting attorney Bill Thompson in a court memo on Wednesday. The filings themselves have not yet been seen by the public. Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32, which governs court records, gives the court 3 days to release non-exempt documents upon request. The court also posts documents to its website once a week on Friday. The new filings come days after an attorney for one of the victims' families appealed the court's gag order, which has stifled public comment on the case from the prosecution, the defense, investigators, and other officials, and was amended last month to also restrict attorneys for the victims, witnesses, and their families. Shannon Gray, the attorney for 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves' parents, called the non-dissemination order facially overbroad and vague and unconstitutional in a court filing last week. As attorney for one of the victims' families, I am allowed to relay to the media any of the opinions, views, or statements of those family members regarding any part of the case, as they are allowed to speak about the case under the First Amendment, he wrote. Kohberger is accused of killing Gonsalves, 3 University of Idaho students, in the early hours of November 13th, ambushing them with a knife as some slept in a 6-bedroom house on King Road, just steps off campus. The other victims were 20-year-old boyfriend and girlfriend Ethan Chapin and Xana Carnoto and 21-year-old Madison Mogan. 2 other roommates were not attacked, including one who told police she witnessed a masked intruder with bushy eyebrows leaving out the back door. Kohberger had stalked the home at least a dozen times beforehand, according to a probable cause affidavit that has revealed most of the publicly known details about the investigation. Then, hours after the murders, he allegedly revisited the scene before taking a lengthy drive down to Lewis Clark Valley. Kohberger is being held without bail on 4 counts of first-degree murder and a felony burglary charge. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for June 26. My understanding is that the DA has filed these documents, and this is a short live. I'm not here to stay long because I don't want to keep. I'm tired of talking about the shenanigans pertaining to this case because it's outrageous at this point. But anyway, the DA is possibly trying to block any type of appeal by these people. And you hear also filing of some secretive documents that won't be uploaded onto the regular website. I don't know if some of you think that the family members, friends, associates, whoever they've got the gag order for, district attorney, attorneys, detectives, whomever, I don't know if some of you think people should be talking, not talking, but you also have to remember they're still investigating the case. Although they have a suspect, we still don't have information pertaining to what they gathered, because that's the point. This is an ongoing investigation. They're probably still investigating Kohberger as to build the case against him. That's common sense. So if indeed you may be called as a witness for the prosecution, character witness, and or give a victim statement, such as a parent, or it wouldn't be a good idea to keep talking, because they have to find 12 members of a jury, seat them, and then proceed with giving the information, prosecutor and the defense. So what I'm trying to figure out, what is it that Mr. Gonsalves' family, what else do you want to talk about? Yes, it is your First Amendment right to have free speech, but due to the fact that you all hired an attorney and then 2 spoken about certain things allegedly that your child told you, well, you could be called in to testify of those said conversations. And that would be a problem. And maybe obviously the Gonsalves family don't know the law. Many of us don't know the law. So they're trying to explain it to you. We don't want you talking publicly. We don't want your lawyer talking because you may have to be called into court to testify. So I don't know what's going on, but I know that they're trying to appeal the decision, the family, Kaylee's family, about the gag order. So perhaps this is why there has been some filings from the prosecutor's office to the court, is to try to have that blocked. Not have it lifted, rather, the gag order. Because right now you have certain people talking to News Nation and other sources about him stalking the girls, going in the DM. That was released a few weeks ago. We have now posts been found pertaining to Ethan Chapin's sister-in-law. We also have somebody running around saying things about Dylan and that night, and she wasn't scared, and this and that. Some guy on the audio, and more information coming out pertaining to Xana's hands. Her fingers were possibly wounded in a struggle on that fateful morning. So you have little bits and pieces of information coming out when there is a gag order, and that's a problem because you don't want certain things out when you are, one, still investigating the suspect. Two, we haven't gone to trial. He hasn't given a plea. You haven't seated a jury. So the more you talk, the more you put out things, what you heard, what you saw, what somebody told you, what you think, those ideas will be in someone's head while they're being questioned as a potential juror. And naturally, most people will not tell the truth that they have an opinion already pertaining to Kohberger and the kids, because most people will lie. Hey, have you heard of this case? They may say yes. Then they may say, well, do you think this guy is guilty? Most people will probably say no. The only people I could think that would say yes are people who don't want to be on the jury and they want to go ahead and just tell the truth. So this person can say, nah, I don't want him. Nah, I don't want her. So that they'll say, well, let's dismiss this person here. And that person's probably relieved because they don't want to be a juror. And everybody is not on board with being a juror. And I get that because that's time away from your job, your family. You can't talk to people. You may be sequestered in a hotel. And some people just aren't willing to do that for a certain amount of time. And we've learned with certain trials, they can be winded. And due to Kohberger thinking he's slick and a smart ass, he can prolong this and put it off and show out and, put on all type of theatrics during trial. And the trial could go on for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months. See, you never know. But obviously the Gonzalez family wants to talk. I don't know what it is they want to say. What do they want to keep talking about? And as they said, as I've told you before with this case, sometimes I just feel like he acts as if his child was the only child murdered on that fateful morning. There are other families with deceased children. And what are their opinions? Do they want to be talking? Do they want lawyers to be talking? I've not heard one time on behalf of the Chapins, the Mogans, Coronado, anybody, any family members that they want to speak, they want to talk, they want a lawyer talking, they want to reveal things. Gonzalez, he is the only person out of that group that wants to continuously talk. And yes, it is his right to speak about his child. We know your child was murdered. We know 3 others were murdered. So it's not about Kaylee. It's about 4 kids. And this is what I said in my live the other night, that the focus was always about the 2 blondes in the beginning. And who's to say that these other chicks didn't have some type of animosity? Not that there was a setup, not that there was a conspiracy with Kohberger, but just saying, sometimes things aren't what they appear. And a lot of people don't think outside of the box when it comes to murder. You just assume you see some people, they take pictures together, everybody was lovey-dovey, got along. But maybe they didn't. And it's not to say it has anything to do with Kohberger's actions, any type of conspiracy with these girls, just saying that the least you say and talk about, the better. Because it would be a shame if down the road, there are some technicalities with jury members and things they've said to people in confidence. People come out and repeat things they said. That stuff can overturn a verdict. And that's what Gonzalez doesn't seem to understand. You don't want to keep talking and repeating stuff, because in the beginning, he really didn't know anything. Sister didn't know anything. Mother didn't know anything. None of these people knew anything. Nobody knew Kohberger. Nobody says they know him now. So therefore, one is going to ask, well, what is it that you think you want to talk about after the fact? What is it that you want to say to the public now after the fact with the suspect in custody? What is it you want to relay to the public? Yes, well, there's nothing wrong with talking about your kids. That is your kid. But the investigation is still onward. That's where the problem comes. That's where the problem comes. And he and his wife or daughter could possibly be called to testify. So therefore, it does make sense that if you continue to talk while court proceedings are in limbo and proceeding, those things can be used against you in court. So now I think people should understand where I'm coming from and where the district attorney is coming from, where the judge is coming from. You continue to talk. You keep saying things. You have to remember that when you go to court, the defense attorney will question you on those said things that you have revealed to the public about your child, your opinions, any type of discrepancy, anything you said that can be refuted or said that it's not truth or factual, or any allegation you make that you don't have a receipt to pertaining to Kohberger, the kids, their attitudes, dispositions, what they did, didn't do. See, that's what people don't understand about the law. It's that your words can be used against you and also be held against the victims. Because that woman, man, whoever will defend Kohberger has a job to do. Despite what you think of him, despite if you think he's guilty or not, the defense has a job, and their job is to get him off the said charges, to prove he didn't do these things. Or if more evidence comes out, to say, well, he did it, but maybe he had help. However they want to, lay out their case. You continuously talk during the proceedings, trial. You're called as a witness to speak on something. You might put your foot in your mouth to where you can't wiggle out of something you said. And it could also be, as I said, disputed in court. Because right now, these people in their minds, he's probably thinking, well, it's my child. I can say what I want. The lawyer can say what they want. We want people to know how we feel, blah, blah, blah. I think most of us know how you feel, Mr. Gonsalves. You're angry. You're upset. You want your child back. You can't get her back. But there are also 3 other family members with deceased children. And their actions will stand account as well. Their feelings are valid as well. Their disposition is valid as well. And that's where I have the problem with this man, is that I don't think he thinks about the other family members. And I've never heard once that they're using him as a mouthpiece for their own feelings. Because Ms. Chapin made that clear when she spoke about Ethan early on. I don't want anyone speaking for my son. I will speak for my son and who he is. And you can't get mad at that, because that is her son. So she didn't want anyone at that time saying this, whatever. She wanted to be the one to speak on her son. And I get that. So see, who knows what was being said behind closed doors, if there was somebody trying to take the lead and orchestrate the conversations about the children and be the mouthpiece. And Mr. Gonsalves is very overt and opinionated. So see, you never know what's really going on behind the scenes with the victims' families, the district attorney, the detectives, investigators, state police, FBI. You really have no idea. And when you start getting people leaking out information, and I don't know who's doing all this leaking of stuff, it can cause a problem down the road when trial starts. And that's what some people don't seem to understand. And the detectives and whomever that's leaking this out, if it's indeed them, they know they're not supposed to be talking to the public. They know they're not supposed to be sending any type of information to the Sun, the Daily Mail, News Nation, whomever. Because what if it gets back that you're the one that leaked out information? It's such as whose DM this man was in, who he messaged, who didn't respond. So far, no one has mentioned who responded. Didn't respond. So most of us are thinking, well, why would you put this information out here when you won't even tell us which girl it was? So then we have to say, well, is it even true, the information that Kohberger reached out to one of the girls? One of the girls didn't respond, because that's the point. This is just a version. There's nobody's name been stamped onto the information. And this guy that's running around social media talking on behalf of Bethany and who she is, and no PTSD and no shock, no this, no distraught, you're making it worse for her. One minute you're acting like what? She's involved, she ain't involved, she ain't distraught. Then you want to throw the FBI and the police under the bus as if they put words on paper on her behalf. But then in the same breath you say, well, oh, she got a lawyer because they were hassling her. So which is it? See, this is where the problem comes in. Contradictory information, no real source being revealed, not knowing if there's any validity to the info that's getting out. We all can speculate he stalked the kids, followed them around, possibly messaged them on apps, but you still have to have proof, and that's the district attorney's job, to bring forward the truth and the information and the evidence that they've gathered against Kohberger. I'm not going to hold you, but that's my set information. When I get an update, I will be back, but I am exhausted with talking about these kids. I'm exhausted with everyday stupid updates that's mainly he said, she said, and we don't know who's saying all this stuff. And whoever is putting this information out, you're not thinking about down the road. Mr. Gonsalves and his family, they're not thinking about down the road to where you're called into court and have to testify on things you've said, things your lawyer has said, things you speculated on, things you speculated and didn't have a receipt to. You'll have to stand account for all that. And I think he and his family don't realize that. And by now they should. This is serious business, because you don't want anything to taint the jury. You don't want anything to be later thrown out. And most definitely, you don't want Bryan C. Kohberger to walk free, if indeed he is the perpetrator. I think he is, but others may disagree. You're entitled to your opinion. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji129, Cash App, Super Chat stickers are welcome during the live. Please be safe. And you have been listening to the Vault XL. Thank you.